Hello and welcome back to Speakerstack Music. So in this video I'm going to show you how I've written, recorded and produced some electric guitars for an electronic rock song that I've been working on, which is called Jungle Shaker. If you're interested in checking out the song, there'll be a link at the end of this video so you can actually check out the song in YouTube. It's an electronic rock song, electro rock song. And there'll also be a link to a playlist that you can click through to see the other videos that I've created in this series of videos where I break down how I've actually created the electronic rock song in Ableton 12. So there'll be videos on the drums and the other synthesizers, etc, etc. But this is about the electronic guitars. So as I said, you can click through and check out the actual song. I'm just going to give you a quick blast of it just to audition it so you get a sense of what I've created, so you can actually hear it in this video as well. Cool. Okay, so as I said, if you want to check out the actual song itself, there'll be a link at the end of this video. Yes, there's lots of guitar in this song, and the guitars are really kind of doing one of three things. So we've got a couple of rhythm guitars here. Very light touch rhythm, so we're not following through on chords or anything like that. They are really just adding some rhythmic texture to the song. And they're on tracks 16 and 17. We've also got some riffy guitars here right through from track 18 through to 24. Now these are the main driving riffs in the song on the electric guitar, and they're there to complement the sequences and to kind of add to the overall feel of the groove. And then finally we've got some lead guitar on tracks 32, 33 and 34. And these lead guitars are to provide a kind of a bluesy lead within the track, just to root it back in that kind of rock tradition, and also to duplicate what's going on with other synthesizers in the song. So it works really well, I think, sometimes if you have lead guitar emulating what you've got going on in synthesizers, so you kind of got a combined synth and guitar sound. So they're doing a bit of that, and there's a bit of bluesy lead in there as well. I'm going to talk to you about the principles that I've applied in creating, recording and producing this guitar. The first thing to say is that I have ensured that I've grouped every track that I've recorded on this, and I have doubled up or sometimes tripled up on those recordings. So you'll see that for the rhythm guitars, they've been grouped here on track 15, and if you're looking to know how to group, you just literally right click and group tracks. The reason I've done that is, one, it just tidies up multiple recordings, and two, it enables you to apply effects and parameters universally to all of the guitars that you've got under that grouping. So you'll see that I've got a grouping here for the rhythm guitars. I've got a grouping further down for the riff guitars, which is RG 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2 and 3. And there, what you've essentially got there is 3 duplicate guitars for one riff, and then 3 duplicate guitars for the other riff, and you'll see that you can see they're grouped together, so you kind of get the point on that. And then finally, obviously, a grouping on the lead guitar. So that's the first principle, and that means that you can go in and apply universal parameters such as chorus and reverb, which I've got going on down here, and with the riff guitars, a bit of EQ, and then some more chorus and reverb. And I'll explain why I've picked those particular effects as we work through this video. And with the rhythm guitars, we did put a reverb on and I've turned it off. So yeah, I was probably experimenting with how far to use reverb on that particular track, and then just decided at the end to take it off. So I'll leave that switched off. So that's the first principle. So the second principle that I've applied is to duplicate or overlay the guitar patterns or the guitar notes or the chords that I've recorded to thicken the sound, to make sure that you've got different tones. So for example, on the riff guitars here, in this first kind of triplet here that I've got in this section, I've done 3 recordings using different tonal settings on the guitar that I used to record it in. And the guitar that I used to record it in is a Fender Telecaster. So we've essentially got the 2 pickups on it, and you've got the 3 different tones that you can move between on those pickups. That's the first thing to say on it. The other thing it enables you to do is play around with the different EQ settings. So again, you can just get a combined sound, apply different EQ to each of them. So for example, on the first recording, we've got the EQ positioned here. On the second recording, it's positioned there. And on the third recording, it's slightly wider, so it's thickening the sound with a bit more of a boost in the high decibels at the higher end. And that gives you a sound that feels quite thickened and more sonic. The difficulty obviously is recording in consistently the same idea. So it takes a bit of practice to do that. But once you're able to do that, it really helps your recording. So I highly recommend duplicating or tripling up the recording idea that you're laying down, applying different tones on your guitar, and then also playing around with the EQ to kind of get the sound you want. I've also done that for the other riff here, and I've also done it for the lead guitar down here. So that's the second principle I've adopted. Now the third thing that I've applied here is I've got the guitars doing different things. So we've got the rhythm guitars up here, very rhythmic. We've then got the riff guitars. Now these are doing 2 things here. So the riff guitars on tracks 22, 23 and 24 are there to support the groove. Fundamentally, they are there to emulate the sequencer riff. Whereas these riff guitars here are bringing in a new kind of more rock and roll, looser riff towards the end of the song. And then finally, we've got the lead guitar down here, which is operating as a lead instrument. So this is the other important point on this song. What are you defining as part of the sound, part of the texture, and what are you defining as a lead instrument? And I have picked a trance lead here, which I will do a video on in terms of how I created that. And then we've got some lead guitar. So those are the 2 lead instruments, and as I said, we've got them doubling up here. So I'm just going to stop talking for a second, and I'm going to show you what all of those sound like, so you can kind of see how I've done them by playing the whole song and then soloing the actual guitar, so you can see how it sounds in the song. The best place to start it is probably around bar 25, which is where the first guitar comes in. So you can see this guitar is really rhythmic. We're not playing chords, we're literally just adding to the groove, adding to the rhythm. I've got it pushed quite low down in the kind of low to mid frequencies, which you can see going on here with an EQ. And again here with this one, because we've got lots of other guitar to accommodate in this song, and obviously you have to be careful that you're not muddying up all the guitars. So yeah, I've got those down in the lower to mid frequencies, and that's the rhythm guitars. Let's have a look at the lead guitar next. You heard the end of it there. So the lead guitar is the lead instrument. And you can probably hear there that slight differences in what's actually being played. It is the same idea, but Again, it's just getting those notes bang on with each other as you overlay another guitar on top of existing guitar. And then it phases out into a bit of an auto filter, which we'll come to in a second. So that's the lead guitar. Now the lead guitar has an initial idea, which is kind of an intro idea. Then there's a pattern here, which sounds like this. So real bluesy guitar in this part of the song. And then it drops back into the groove. We've also got that same bluesy cascading lead going on in this section. So if I solo each of these guitar tracks, you'll hear how they kind of combine together to make a really thick, nice, sonic kind of choral sound. So you can really hear the different tones in this. And then back into the groove, and then if I've got this right and I remember it correctly, I think there's a new idea then that comes in around this part of the song. So yeah, real bluesy, just moving between the two different chords there. And again, you've got the three different sounds all played together on top of each other to create a thicker, more choral sonic sound. And then you're into the final idea that we've got on the lead guitar, which, as I mentioned earlier, emulates the synthesizer that we've got, the trans lead that we've got going on tracks 29 and 30. The guitar notes, the guitar riff, the lead guitar emulates the actual notes that we've got played in the digital synthesizer on those tracks. And I just had a bit of kind of squalling, bluesy, high-end lead there to introduce the new idea, just to kind of offer a bit of a climax in the song, and then introduce the next part of the guitar. So this is the final idea that I've got going on for the lead guitar in this song. And that's the synth. So slightly different, but roughly the same idea. So finally the riffs. Now, as I said, we've got two different riffs going on here. We've got an end section riff here, and then we've got some riff which is there to support the sequences, to support the groove. And there. So let's have a look at the one that's kind of in there to support the groove, which is on line instrument tracks 22, 23 and 24. It's very similar to the sequencer here on track 14. And you can really hear the difference in tone between those three recordings. So we've got that happening through there. Let's just see if this is the same. Now this is a new idea. So again, we just wanted to, it's a new idea just to mix the song up at that point in the structure, introduce something new before you kind of build it up and come in for the final kind of climax of the song. And then I think at the end we're back into the groove, if I remember correctly. Fantastic. And then so the final thing to mention then is this riff here, which is very similar to the riff here, but it's played in a far more kind of looser, almost aggressive fashion to kind of raise the tension at this point in the song. So I'll just give you a quick blast of that. So you can see the guitar is getting more aggressive, more driving at this point. And that's where you've got that squalling high end, and then you're back in again. Yeah, and this is really there to complement the lead, so you can see the lead really kicks off in this section with that bluesy high-end lead that switches between those two chords, creating tension, and that's there in support of it. So that's kind of my thinking around how I structured it. The guitars are there to do different things. We've got 4 different guitar patterns. Within that you've got multiple ideas in some of them. So let's move finally on to some of the effects that we've applied in terms of producing the guitars. All the guitars were recorded using, let's just move that across if I can find it. It's the rhythm guitar. That's just been played in naturally. Here we've got a plugin that we've used, which was actually a plugin that came with the Universal Audio Vault that I have, which is the sound card that I use to record. And you've got different presets, so I've used some of the different presets, changed the presets according to the guitars just to give a bit of variety. And then we've got the standard stuff really. So where I've used EQ has been, as I say, to position the guitars in that mid to high frequency range. The chorus guitars are lower down, as you can see, in the low to mid frequencies. I've also dipped the decibels to give room for the lead to sit on top. That's the same with those two. The other things to mention on the rhythm guitars is we've got some chorus added to it, and I've also added some corrective EQ8. And if you're not sure how to use EQ8 in a corrective way, then I'll post a link to one of my videos where I talk about using this to do an EQ cut. So you can essentially go in and you can cut out any of the kind of the harsh frequencies that were created as you recorded it into Ableton by cutting out the decibels in those areas of the frequency range. So I've got an EQ cut. That's the same on both of those. Then on the riff guitars, again, EQ, EQ cuts, EQ, EQ cut on that one, and the same on that one. I've pretty much done it to most of these. And then on the second riff guitar, we've got some delays, and you can see that's automated because of the pink dot in the top left hand corner. More automation, more delay on that. Again, EQ cuts on the recording, dropped in a chorus. And then the final one, again, a delay and an EQ8, positioning it in the mid frequencies with a dip there for the lead to sit on top, and then an EQ8 that's been used to cut out the harsh frequencies. And we've got cuts in all those EQs so that we can actually then, in the decibels in those mid frequencies, we can add some lead guitar on top, which you can see is going on here. Again, the lead, so the lead we have pushed into the mid to high frequencies. As you can see, if I just scroll across, you can see there it starts higher, about the 500 Hertz range, finishes around 10,000. Okay, and then the third and final lead guitar, very similar there as well. Chorus on all of those. delay, as we've mentioned, on all of those, and we've got some automation on the delay. We've also got an auto filter, because there's a section here where I wanted just to do something interesting with the lead guitar and have it kind of filter out. I'll just play that again so you can hear what we've got going on there. And you can see as I'm playing that, the auto filter is moving. We're filtering out the higher frequencies, which gives it a kind of a phasing effect on the guitar. And we've got that on all three of the lead guitars. They're all phasing and auto filtering at the same time. I'll just carry on playing that. And you'll see it starting to filter down through those high frequencies. And then you're back in the groove. And then the final thing to mention is the delay. As you can see, we've got delay on these three lead guitars here, and we've also got some delay on the riff guitars as well. And I think that's towards the end of the song, where again I just wanted it to come across as more kind of looser, if you like, and just start to kind of be a bit more aggressive. So if you click on this icon up here, you can see the automation. It gives you all of these lines, and then you can go in and you can actually look at how you've automated. So you can see with the delay, there's some delay going on here in that second section where it's auto filtering. We've got delay as well, mixing up the auto filter so that it's not just phasing out of the high frequencies, it's also delaying as it's doing so. You've got the guitar echoing as it's doing so for effect. And then we've got a little bit of delay here on the high-end bluesy squall, which was this bit, like that. On the riff guitar, we were looking at delay on all of these. I'm just saying, yeah, it's set for track volume, so that's why we can't see any automation. These are just straight lines. Got a slight boost in the volume there. But we're also, I'm pretty sure we're also automating the delay. We may not be. Let's just have a quick look. Now we may not be because we don't have any delay on these. Yeah, there's no delays on those. So don't worry about that. But we do have delay on the other three. So we've got delay on the second riff on tracks 22, 23 and 24. So hopefully if I now go in and select the delay, we should see that it has been automated. Yeah, it has. And it's been automated so that we can have the device off and on, essentially. I think that's what we've automated. So you can see that we've got a lot of delay coming in on some of those sections, but then coming out for this section here. So if we play this, no delay on that riff where it's supporting the sequencers. And then in that second idea that we've dropped in around bar 113, you'll see we've got some delay on that. And then delay at the end. Cool, so those are the effects that we've added to it. Those are the ideas that I dropped in. Really was about understanding what the track needed. I think on reflection some of the guitar is a bit low in the mix and could have perhaps done with being pushed out a little bit, but I wanted it to add to the overall texture of the groove, and that's kind of what I've tried to go for. So hopefully that's come across and worked to a degree, which is why we do have things like reverb on the guitar, like chorus. You know, those are the kinds of effects that are going to push the sound back into the mix. So that's why on some of these instruments, on some of these recordings, we've got chorus and we've got reverb as well happening. Not on all of them, but on a lot of them. So for the lead, yeah, again, we've got chorus again just to thicken it. So I don't know, I mean, if I was to revisit this track, I might, you know, and having played it a lot since I created it and released it, and it's obviously one of those things when you do release songs, you then have more time to kind of reflect on them. And as part of that reflection, I guess I could have decided to increase the volume of the guitars, particularly the lead guitars, and that might be something that I revisit in the future if I want to have another go at this song. But apart from that, pretty happy with the guitar, pretty happy with the track. We're going to have a look at the organ in the next video, and then we're going to finish off and have a look at the trans lead in the final video, and that will complete all of the series in this playlist. So I hope you found that useful, and if you have found it useful, it'd be really great if you could give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. Please check out the finished version of the song if you get a chance, and also, as I said, there'll be a playlist at the end of this video where you can look at the other videos in terms of how I created the whole song in Ableton 12. So thank you for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.